మనతో ఉన్నారు ఈరోజు కమాండర్ చక్రపాణి గారు. వారితోటి మాట్లాడి వారు ఇండియన్ నేవీలో 25 సంవత్సరాలు సేవలను అందజేశారు. వారి ప్రయాణం ఎలా కొనసాగింది అనే విషయాన్ని తెలుసుకుంటూ ఇండియన్ నేవీలో ఏ విధంగా చేరొచ్చు, ఏ విధంగా సేవలు అందజేయచ్చు అనే విషయాన్ని కూడా కలిసి మాట్లాడి తెలుసుకుందాం. ముందుగా మనం వారిని స్వాగతం పలుకుదాం, వారికి ఆహ్వానం తెలుద్దాం. నమస్కారం చక్రపాణి గారు.
నమస్కారం
చక్రపాణి గారు, వెరీ వార్మ్ వెల్కమ్ టు TeluguOne ఛానల్.
Many thanks Jaya garu. It is a proud privilege for me और मेरा सौभाग्य है कि मैं TeluguOne चैनल में आया हूँ. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. How was your day, sir?
Excellent. Every day is a good day.
That's the spirit. Thank you so much. So, what made you join Indian Navy firstly?
Well, interesting question. You know, many years back, I had one dream, and that dream was to fly.
To fly.
And fly in the Indian Air Force because I thought that was the best place to be flying in. And to satisfy the dream of mine and make it come true, I joined the National Defence Academy and thereafter went into Air Force as an Air Force cadet. Sadly, that dream never came true and I got grounded from flying and I moved to the next best thing that I could do, and that is to go underwater.
But any reason for not being able to fly?
Sometimes fate plays very interesting hands and one never knows what fate has in hand.
Okay.
Well, very interestingly, I had many times tried to fly, not once but as many as 5 times, and every time I tried to fly, for some reason or the other I never could.
Okay.
For example, once I was rejected on medical grounds for my eyesight. Even today I don't wear glasses, but on that day I couldn't read.
Okay.
So fate plays its role.
I know. Yeah. It's not unfortunate. Probably you're destined to do something more challenging.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, my life in the Navy has been so good, so interesting, so challenging, every day being different, that both my boys decided that that was the life they wanted. And my 2 sons are today naval officers.
Oh, wow.
So yes, very interesting times indeed.
So how was it on the sea first time? Or rather, you were in submarines, so how was it under the water?
Well, first time it was always on surface of water, which was the normal naval way of doing things. The sea is a very interesting phenomena because on one side of it, on one day you can see it as flat glass calm.
Right.
The second day it could be raging storm there. It changes its moods, it changes its colors, it changes its behavior without even telling you.
Right.
It's a very unforgiving mistress, if you will call it that.
Yeah.
But it always calls you back to the sea. The sea was a very humbling as well as, enabling experience the first time I went out. And I thought this is where I belong. And I remained there.
So how is it like normally for merchant navy that I know, they go for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months kind of sailing for them.
Right.
What kind of sailing period is for a naval officer?
Typically, a naval officer is on a ship which is based at a particular port.
Okay.
And if your ship is operational, you could be out at sea for 18 to 20 days a month. If your ship is in refit, then you are in harbor for that much time the ship is in refit. Net, at an average, you can safely assume for a naval officer, about 10 to 12 days at sea on a monthly basis over a long-term average would be by and large a rough thumb rule.
Other than the weather conditions, any challenges that you faced in your career?
The sea, like I said, is a very interesting medium. And the challenges for a ship, or for somebody on a ship or a submarine for that matter, are multiple. One comes from the medium itself, the water. It is seawater, it corrodes everything.
Yeah.
There is definitely a little higher percentage of ozone at the surface of the sea. The weather conditions play their own role. Don't forget we are on a ship which is metal, alien to the seawater there.
Yeah.
Therefore, it can spring a leak. So you could have an emergency based out of something that happens inside the hull of the ship.
Yeah.
It could be a mechanical or an emergency that happens because the engines are not working or the pumps are not working. Or there could be a simple thing like somebody falling overboard.
Yeah.
So he has to be rescued or pulled back. Add to this the complexities as far as the Navy is concerned about piracy, running or managing anti-piracy patrols, about being able to launch or recover aeroplanes when you are at sea, helicopters, to be able to do multiple things to be able to do. So what we generally do is to classify the emergencies or whatever we do at sea into three different buckets. One, we say float.
Okay.
So I should be able to float, which means the watertight integrity of the hull is to be maintained, and I should not sink.
Yes.
The second is to move. So all those things that come into the movement of the ship, from engines to generators to garbage disposal to cooking to whatever else, is the aspect of move.
Yeah.
Then comes the aspect of fight, which means includes all your weapon systems, the sensors, the guns, the missiles, the anti-aircraft missiles, all of them come into this picture. And therefore, the Indian Navy becomes an embodiment of three different aspects that affect,
True.
that is float, move and fight. So these three elements, when they put together onto a ship, you can assume ship is like a city.
Yeah.
It has its power generation to power distribution. It has its propulsion, it has its food, somebody has to prepare food, somebody has to do garbage disposal. All of us have to live. That means all activities that go around life are all there, right? Health becomes a very important aspect. Drinking water, flushing systems, you name it. It's like a mini city which is floating. And when you are at sea, there is nobody to help you. Therefore, you have to help only yourself. You have only yourself to help. Which means every sailor, every officer and man who is on board a ship or a submarine should be able to do not only his job, but the job of the person next to him on the right, the left, on top, and as well as the bottom. So it's multiple, you make yourself a jack of all trades and a master of a few of them.
Well said, yes. But coming to ship and sailing, as you said, there are so many people doing diverse duties on ship. When it comes to rescue operations or piracy, whatever you were saying about that, then how does it go? Like, is everybody, like, say from crewman, chef to oilman, do they all also have to be involved at the rescue operation? I mean, to be visibly on the front line.
Okay, effectively everybody is trained to do two things. One is to be able to survive at sea.
Yeah.
Because if you fall into the water, you must know what you should do. The second is to be able to rescue the other person at sea.
Yes.
Now, depending on your trade, depending on the job that you are doing, you may or may not know everything about what you are supposed to do. But you definitely know, in case you fall, what should you do? Inflate your life jacket, get onto your back, there is a light there, switch it on. There are multiple things that you have to do. Right? If there is a requirement of abandoning your ship, then there is a process to it. You must know where your life jacket station is. You must know where your lifeboat station is. Get into the lifeboat in an orderly fashion and go overboard, go out of the ship.
Yeah.
Right. And then you must know what happens thereafter. Because if you start panicking, then you'll only become a liability to the rest of the people there. Right?
So were there any situations where you had to abandon your ship?
Thankfully, no.
Fortunately.
But I've seen, in a submarine, I've seen flooding taking place at a depth of as much as 100 meters. So when water comes into a submarine at 100 meters depth, it is coming in, the outside pressure in the water is 10 atmospheres. 1 atmosphere every 10 meters.
Yeah.
Right, the water comes in as a spray. It just dissipates, and before you say Jack Robinson, your submarine is negatively buoyant, it starts going down. Therefore, whatever you do here has to happen instinctively, for which you have to train, still more train, yet more train, continue training, train in whether you're breathing, you're sleeping, you're eating, you should know exactly what is to be done. It is a difficult piece of training.
Yeah.
And you learn the art. Finally, it's your life.
How is your family doing, sir?
Well, I have one wife. I sadly couldn't afford a second one. But she is a teacher and she's been teaching for a number of years now.
Okay.
And I have two sons. They got so excited by the life that I led that they are both naval officers today. One is a lieutenant, he is based in Bombay. The other is a sub-lieutenant, he is under transfer to go to Bombay. Okay. So net we'll have two boys both in Bombay for a while.
And how's it been since you have retired from the services and now that you're into the mainstream, into the civilians, how's life been since then?
Interesting question. The armed forces life was one way of living.
Yeah.
Right. It was a life of trust. It was a life of depending on the person next to you. You could trust him with your life. Therefore, your objective was to, if you were in command or if you were a person in a position of power, your objective was to get someone else trained well enough to take your place so that you could move upwards or you could move to a different role.
Right.
It was a life of discipline. It was a life of camaraderie where, whether it was the families, it was the children, it was yourself, whether it was officers, it was the men, you're all one family. So it was a different way of life entirely. When I transitioned from the Indian Navy into the civilian side of life, and that was in 2007, it's about 12 years back now, and there was a cultural shock, frankly. Because here now there was a life in which you could not trust the job next to you.
Yes.
You did not want to train the guy below you so that he could take your position. Because if you did that, you are out of a job.
Right.
To be really honest, there's not too much of difference. Once you manage to grow over those few elements where these things you cannot do, it becomes much, much simpler for the simple reason human being is the same, whether in the armed forces or in the civil street. Right? He has the same fears, he has the same aspirations, he has the same hopes, he has the same reasons why he gets depressed.
Yeah.
Right? He needs similar type of support, another human being to support them. Right? It doesn't matter whether you're in a technological company or you're in a manufacturing company or you're in pharmaceuticals or construction.
Yeah.
The people, the man remains similar. Right? And I was very lucky. I had very good people both above and below me. That helped the transition to happen very smoothly.
Yeah.
And in any case, since I joined an IT company, those days Satyam Computers, and today's Tech Mahindra, the people concerned helped me out where I needed. And the position I went into, I never needed to write a single line of code. I only needed to know how that line of code is written and who will write it, and motivate that person to write the right code.
Okay.
Okay, I never needed to check it.
Right.
So that role is something which any armed forces guy can and always will be able to do.
Yes. And learning from you, you wanted to be in the Air Force, and you finally chose to, or you were destined to be in the Indian Navy.
Right.
But still you managed your spirit and you sustained yourself here. Now there are many youth these days that they have a target, they have a goal, and they say, I want to join Indian Air Force. And then once they don't get, they're kind of depressed, they say, stressed out, they say, and then they probably don't do anything and look around for something and then join some job with no job satisfaction. So what's the message for the youth as of today? What do you think they can do if they're not chosen, if they're not being able to choose their path? Yeah.
All I can do is to quote Abdul Kalam. If you read his books, especially The Wings of Fire, you realize that he wanted to be an Air Force officer. He went to the SSB. He failed that SSB.
Yeah.
And he was sitting on the banks of the Ganga and contemplating what he should do next. And he says in this book that a Swami came to him and asked him, that son, maybe you're destined for something else.
Right.
Look at his life. From a man from such humble origins, he probably was the best President of India that I have ever seen or I have ever known in any form, whether through books or wherever else. Right? He changed India in multiple ways. If you really give up so easily in terms of your own life, then there's no answer. Right? You'll keep giving up because of the first instance of some impediment, you'll give up.
Yeah.
An impediment is there for you to jump over it or find a way to sidestep it. As a human, if cats and monkeys and dogs can do it, as a human you are a far superior being, blessed with much, much more intelligence.
Right.
So you should be able to find a way to it. Yes, there is a reason to feel sad. Yes, there is a reason to say, why could I not do something?
Yeah.
but there is also a reason for you to improve. Check out what happened, what worked, what did not work, and probably you're not destined for it.
Yeah.
Right. I can look back in my own life and say, yes, there were turning points, but do I regret whatever I have done? No. Do I wish I had taken a different turn whenever, and if I could go back in time, would I take a different decision?
Yeah.
Answer is again no.
Okay.
Okay. Despite knowing fully well what will happen tomorrow, I would still take the same decision yesterday. Right. Destiny is destiny. Leave it where it is. Do your job.
Very true. As the Chinese say, learn a little and share a little.
Yes.
So here it goes. You learned through your journey and you're sharing your experience. Hopefully the youth who is watching us might learn a little from here too.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm very proud to say that in a multiple number of colleges in Telangana and in Andhra, I have gone and conducted soft skills workshops over 2 days and have taught the youth how to be able to, how should I put it, every man, every youngster in the ages of 18 to 22 wants to change the world.
Yeah.
And he thinks he can change the world. Yes, he can.
They can be change makers, definitely.
Absolutely. But there are certain things that you need to do before you can change the world. And one of the most important things there is to change yourself.
Very true.
Right. That is what I do as a part of my soft skills training. And I generally do it out of love rather than out of money.
That's very kind of you and very thoughtful of doing that. Yes, definitely youth need those kind of soft skills to pursue their careers. Thank you so much for being with TeluguOne channel today. Thank you for your time and look forward to your skill management sessions for coming in future.
Thank you very much, TeluguOne channel. Jaya garu, ఇది చాలా బాగుందండి. I would love to come back and share few more experiences, few more examples from my own life. But yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Namaskaram andi. Jai Hind.
జనమంతా కలిసి పాడేద్దామా జనగణమన జగమంతా కలిసి వినిపిద్దామా జనగణమన